Hello everyone, I'm Sharon and thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel. Today I'll be creating a slimline card that features a winter-themed scene set in the majestic snow-covered mountains of beautiful British Columbia in Canada. Here we have the legendary Yeti and their critter friends snowboarding down the slopes of Whistler Mountain and enjoying sweet icy cold treats. Without further ado, let us get started with a quick overview of the Lawn Fawn products that I used to create this card. The adorable Yeti, their winter accessories, and trees come from the Yeti or Not stamp set. The booths, flags, and critters come from the fun Coaster Critters stamp set. The food booth is run by the cute bear from Virtual Friends add-on. The snowboarding ticket booth is operated by this cute deer from Car Critters Christmas add-on. Part of the sentiment comes from Party Penguin stamp set, and the other half comes from Oliver's Stitched ABCs. The sentiment is cut from Everyday Sentiment borders. Finally, the scene is grounded by the Stitched Hillside borders and Puffy Cloud borders. Using some Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock, I die cut a 3.5 by 8.5 inch front panel using a Heavy Doodle Stitched Slimline Die. I'm using my magic mat that I got as a free gift with purchase from scrapbook.com for the first time. The magic mat works well, but I do need to add a cardstock shim to help the mat cut as well as my standard Sizzix cutting pad. I want to create a gradient sky by having some of this stunning Blueprint Sketch Distress Oxide blend into the shaded Lilac Distress Oxide, and having the shaded Lilac blend into the Kitsch Flamingo Pink, which I think is a really pretty combination of colors that is reminiscent of a cold winter sky. To get a smooth and even blend between the three colors, I really take my time blending back and forth between the Blueprint Sketch, the shaded Lilac, and the Kitsch Flamingo. Next, I smush some Blueprint Sketch onto my work surface, spritz it with some water, and create splatters of Blueprint Sketch as well as some silver acrylic paint onto the panel for some added interest in the background. I use the same 3.5 by 8.5 inch Heavy Doodle Stitched Slimline Die to cut a silver glitter panel. I do this because I want the stitching detail from the puffy cloud borders to continue seamlessly all around the perimeter of the panel. Next, I load all of my images into my Misty stamping tool and ink them up using some Lawn Fawn jet black ink, which is safe to use with my alcohol markers. I re-ink and re-stamp the images 3 times to get sharp, crisp lines. The Coaster Critters stamp set comes with the words food and tickets. I use a small acrylic block to stamp the words onto my boots. Notice that I rock the acrylic block gently up and down and from side to side as I stamp. I want to make sure that I get a good impression on the first try because I'm not using my Misty stamping tool. I use my Ohuhu alcohol brush markers to color in my images. For the trees, I use 3 shades of green. I go in with the darkest first to lay down the shadows near the bottom of the trees. Then I use the medium for the midsection. And finally, I use the lightest shade for the treetops because they are closest to the light source. While I have the greens out, I color some of the cool treats like the snow cone and popsicles. Next, I color in my Yeti. I use 3 shades of blue-greens. For my guy Yeti, I use the darkest shade towards the bottom of his body, blend it out with the medium blue-green, and then I finish it off with the lightest shade towards the top of his head. My girl Yeti will be in 3 shades of bright pinks. I start off with the brightest shade towards the bottom of her body, blend it out with the medium pink, and then finish it off with the lightest shade of pink towards the very top of her head. While I have the pinks out, I color some of the cool treats like the popsicle and the snow cone using the same colors. Next, I move on to the browns. I use it for the hands, ears, and also for the faces of the Yeti. After I finish coloring, I use my white gel pen to add some highlights to bring even more life and detail to all of my images. I don't have a special technique for where I place the highlights. I just draw a short line and a dot in the places where I see fit. When I'm done, I place my coordinating dies over the images, hold them down with some low-tack washi tape, and run everything through my die cutting machine. Here's a quick look at all of the adorable images I use on this card. I die cut 2 sets of the word cool. One set is in black licorice cardstock and the other in glitter cardstock. I glue the silver letters offset atop of the black licorice letters to create a 3D effect. From the Yeti or Not stamp set, I cut apart the sentiment that says, "Have a very cool." I only need the "have-a" and the word winter. I use my Simon Says stamp transparency grid to help me line up the sentiments straight on my cardstock so I can heat emboss the sentiment. I prepare my cardstock with some anti-static powder, stamp my sentiment using some Versamark watermark ink. Then I pour on some super fine White Ranger embossing powder, shake it off, pour the excess back into the jar, and use my heat gun to melt the powder to reveal a bright white sentiment. Finally, I use my banner die to cut the sentiment strips out. Now comes my favorite part of assembling the card. First, I adhere the white stitched hillside borders. I want to create 2 big hills coming in from both the left and the right sides of the car so that my Yeti can each snowboard down a separate hill. I then adhere the glitter puffy snow on top to create a mid-ground against the stitched hillside borders. Next, I use some liquid glue to adhere the bear inside of his purple food booth and add a yellow decorative flag to the awning. I adhere the deer inside of his turquoise ticket booth, add a decorative yellow flag to his booth, and I place a lift ticket in his hand. I move on to gluing the teal Yeti onto his bright pink snowboard. As well, I adhere a matching pink scarf, snugly warm around his neck, and a pair of pink goggles that rest just atop of his head. After assembling the teal Yeti, I move on to assembling the pink Yeti. I add her feet to the bright yellow sunshine yellow snowboard, place a scarf around her neck, and I add a pair of yellow goggles atop of her head as well. Next, I move on to the 3 little critters that are more interested in enjoying some icy treats than in the thrilling sensation of going down the icy slopes. I have 2 other little critters who have just purchased their lift tickets, rented their snowboards, and they are headed up the big slopes for their turn down the incredible mountain slopes. After gluing down the trees and flags, I add foam tape to the tops of the booths, but I only use liquid glue on the bottoms so that the booths are level with the background when they are adhered. I adhered the 3 happy critters holding their popsicle and snow cone treats to the left of the food booth. I used foam tape for them. I also adhere the 2 excited critters to the right of the teal ticket booth, and they are carrying their snowboards and clutching their lift tickets as they make their way up the hill. I have the teal Yeti expertly snowboarding his way down the left slope, and then I have the pink Yeti skillfully maneuvering her way down the right slope. She's just having a blast. I move on to arranging the sentiment on my card. I use the grid on my work surface to help me center the first sentiment strip that says "have a" in the space between the 2 slopes. I ensure the die cut letters are laid out in an even and spaced out manner underneath. Once everything is aligned, I glue down the second letter of the word cool first, which is the O, and then adhere the third letter of the word cool, which is also an O. And in doing so, I ensure that I have enough space for the last letter and that the spacing between all of the letters is even. To finish off the card, I use Stickles Glitter by Ranger to create some glistening snow on the pine trees. And there you have it, my finished card. This slimline card features a winter-themed scene set against the majestic snow-covered mountains of Whistler in beautiful British Columbia. The legendary Yeti and our favorite Lawn Fawn critter friends enjoy a day of sweet icy treats and thrilling fun on the world-renowned slopes on the western coast of Canada. Thank you so much for joining me today in this card making video. If you enjoyed the video, please do hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I look forward to having you join me again next time. Have a great day, everyone, and stay warm. Bye-bye.